Okay, so I'm going to get started. We're going to do 7.5 today. And I did open it up in Math Lab, so it'll be due this Sunday also. So everything that we covered this week will be due this Sunday. In 7.5, we're going to be analyzing the graphs of quadratic functions. And remember, all quadratic functions are this parabola shape. So let's go over the first several problems. Are going to have these three questions associated with them. The vertex is going to be the point on this U-shaped parabola where it changes direction, where it stops going down and then starts going up. Okay, so it's kind of like the point at the very bottom, or sometimes if the parabola is upside down, it'll be the point at the very top, right? They're both parabolas. They're both quadratic functions. It's just one's right side up and one's upside down. So they each have a vertex, and it's just the point at where the parabola changes directions. Okay? Then there's this term called the axis of symmetry. Okay? The axis of symmetry is a vertical line. Axis kind of just means line. It's like the line of symmetry. It's the line that cuts the parabola right in half. Okay? It makes one side of the parabola be the same exact thing as the other side. So that's going to be the axis or line of symmetry. Then there's what's called a minimum or maximum value of the parabola. Okay? These two terms actually stem from whatever the vertex is. Okay? So I'm just going to make up a point for this vertex. I'm going to say that vertex is at 2, -3. The line of symmetry is always going to be x equals, right? All vertical lines come in the form x equals. Well, it's just going to be the line that cuts this in half is going to be x equals whatever that x coordinate of your vertex was. So that one would have been x equals 2. The minimum or maximum value, and it has a minimum, right? If your parabola is right side up like this one, the vertex is at the very bottom point of the parabola, okay? Which means parabolas like this have a minimum value. Parabolas that are upside down with the vertex at the top, those would have a maximum value. The minimum or maximum value of the parabola is just whatever the y coordinate is. So this one would have, since it's at the bottom, it would have a minimum value of -3. Okay? We don't say y equals -3 because we're not talking about a line. We are just talking about a certain value. Okay, so these are the three things that we're going to go over on the first several problems. And again, they all stem from finding the vertex first. Okay, I'm going to shut the door real quick. All right, since everybody's zooming today, I'm going to take my mask off real quick. Okay, so number 1. Says use the graph of the quadratic function, and it's got this graph. So it looks like this. On this one, it actually tells you, it gives you the point where the vertex is. Okay, this ordered pair that they're showing right here is actually naming that vertex right there. So the vertex is at 3, -3. Okay, which is actually what the first question is. It says, what is the vertex? Well, it gives it to you in this problem. It's 3, -3. Now, make sure when you are typing this into MATLAB, when you're naming the vertex, you are naming a physical point, which means it has to be entered as an ordered pair. It can't just be entered as 2 numbers. It has to be an ordered pair. That's what tells you, that's what tells it that it's a point. All right, the next part of the question says, well, what's the axis of symmetry? In other words, what's the equation of the line that would cut this parabola right in half? Okay, and it even tells you to type an equation. Okay, it kind of gives you a hint there. Okay, because when you're talking about this line, all vertical lines are always come in the form of x equals, and then whatever the x equals. If you'll notice on this vertical line, no matter where you are on it, the x coordinate would be 3, okay? So it's always just going to be x equals whatever that x coordinate is. So just x equals 3 would be the axis of symmetry. And then the last part says, what is the minimum or maximum value of the function? Okay, so since this one's right side up, it's going to have a minimum. So the minimum value is whatever the y coordinate is of that vertex. So the minimum value is just -3. Okay, and again, that one is not an equation of a line. It's just a number. Okay, so on number 1, they draw it out for you and they even name the vertex. Okay, starting with number 2. So it says, consider the quadratic function below, find the vertex, the axis of symmetry, determine whether it has a minimum or maximum, and graph the function. So it just gives me the written out x squared minus 6x plus 8 function. It doesn't show me the graph of it. Okay, I know that it is quadratic in the U shape since its highest exponent is a 2. So I know it's a U somewhere. Okay, so we'll graph it here in just a second. So the first thing it wants me to do is name the vertex, because remember, the vertex is going to give us the information that we need to answer all the other questions. Okay, so I'm going to show you 2 different ways to find the vertex. I'm going to show it written out, and then I'll show you how to do it in your calculator. Okay, the opposite of b over 2a, which you'll notice this comes straight from the quadratic formula, right? The quadratic formula tells us a lot of things about quadratic functions. And remember, this is what the quadratic formula is. This part right here is what I'm talking about. That's going to give you the x coordinate of the vertex. So the same numbers are always A, B, and C, right? Then a number in front of x squared is your A, the number in front of x is your B, and then C is your constant, okay? So let's figure out what would be the opposite of B over 2 times A. So here's my B, which is -6, which means the opposite of it would be +6, over 2 times your A. Well, your A is the number in front of x squared, and since I don't see it, that means it's a 1. So let's see what that gives me. It gives me 6 over 2, which is 3. So I'm halfway to finding what my vertex is. I know what the x coordinate is. I know that it's +3. Well, if I know what x is, can't I just plug it in for the x's? Because what does f of x also mean? That's the same thing as saying y equals x squared minus 6x plus 8. So if I know what x is, I'm just going to replace the x's here and here, and then I'll know what the y is. So let's see, if I replace x with 3, I'll have 3 squared minus 6 times 3 plus 8. 3 squared gives me 9. Minus 6 times 3 is 18, plus 8. So let's see, 9 minus 18 gives me -9. Bring down the plus 8, which gives me -1, which tells me the y coordinate of the vertex is -1. So that's the answer to the first question. That's your vertex, which again tells you all the information that you need for the other parts of the question. The next part of the question says, what's the equation for the axis of symmetry? Well, remember, once you get your vertex, the axis of symmetry is just x equals whatever that x coordinate was. Now, when this one asks about the minimum or maximum value, the first thing it's going to ask you is, does it have a minimum or a maximum? Remember, parabolas like this would have a minimum because they would have a bottom. Parabolas like this would have a maximum because they would have a top point. What makes it be one way or the other? Remember, if the x squared has a negative in front of it, it's going to flip it upside down. So since this one doesn't have a negative in front of it, this is a right side up parabola, which means it's going to look like this when I graph it, which means it's going to have a minimum value. And the minimum value is just whatever the y coordinate of the vertex is. So the minimum value would be -1. And then it's going to ask you to graph it. So that's the written out way to find the vertex. Let's look at this in the calculator. Okay, we're going to go to our y equals and clear it out. And type in our function. So x squared minus 6x plus 8. So just type that into your calculator. Let's see what it looks like. Okay, so there's my parabola. You'll notice, look at where your vertex is. It's over 3. 1, 2, 3, and then down 1, right? That's what we found the vertex was. It's at 3, -1. So now what we want to do, I'm going to show you how to find the vertex on your calculator. What you're going to do is hit the second button, and then hit this button right here, the trace button. We're going to get up to the calc function. Now remember, I know that this parabola is right side up and has a minimum because it doesn't have a negative in front of the x squared. So let's go tell the calculator we want to find the minimum. So go down to minimum and hit enter. So it's going to ask you two questions. The first thing it's going to say is left bound, okay? Which means you see this cursor blinking. It's going to ask you, is it on the left side of that U? Is it on the left side of the parabola? Okay, and here's how you move the cursor with these buttons right here. So you'll see it's on the left side. So hit enter. That's just confirming it. It can be anywhere on the left side of the parabola. So hit enter. Now it's going to ask you, is it on the right side? Well, it's not. It's still in the same spot. It's on the left. So I need to just move it by hitting that right arrow anywhere over on the right side of the parabola. Just get it across the vertex to the other side and hit enter. And then it's going to say guess. That doesn't mean anything. Just hit enter again. Look what it says. The minimum is at 3, -1. That's your vertex. 3, -1. Now you see how this decimal goes way and then ends in a 4. That's pretty much the same thing as just saying 3. So again, you can find it in the calculator by putting the function in your y equals, then going to second calc, and then find the minimum or maximum depending on which way it's going. Okay, so let's use that on these next ones. Let's go to number 3. All right, number 3. The function is f of x equals 2x squared plus 10x plus 14. Okay, it's going to ask me all the same questions. So I'm going to go to my y equals, clear it out. Type in 2x squared plus 10x plus 14. Okay, let's look at it, right? Because one of the questions is going to be, does it have a minimum or maximum? So let's make sure it's right side up like we think it is. So there it is. And it's going to ask me all the same things. The first thing it's going to ask me is, what is the vertex? So hit second calc. So since it's right side up, it's got a minimum again. So let's go down to minimum. Now, here's why you can't see your cursor. Your cursor always starts off wherever the function is on the x-axis. So here's 0. So if I come up here, let's look. See how it says x is 0? That means your cursor is somewhere up here. This is telling you where it is. It's at 0, 14. So it needs to be on the left side. It needs to be on this side, right? Which means I need to arrow over to get my cursor from being over here to over here. So go to the left. See, there it is. Once you hit it a few times, you'll start seeing it. And just get over to the left side of your vertex. Anywhere, doesn't matter. And hit enter. Now, it says right bound, so put it on the right. So go back over to the other side and put it on the right side and hit enter. And then on the guess, just hit enter again. So look what this one says. The vertex is at -2.5, 1.5. So here's the thing. It's going to want you to type it in at your numbers. If they're decimals, it's going to want you to type those in as fractions. Now, it's very beneficial to know this because when you are graphing this in a little bit, you're going to have to know that decimal number. You are going to have to move it to the left 2.5. So it's not like that's just a wasted part of this problem. You are going to want to know that decimal number, those decimal numbers. But when you enter the vertex in for the vertex part of the problem, it's going to want to know the fraction form. So just go to second quit, get back to your home screen, type in those decimals, negative 2.5, hit enter. How do you turn decimals into fractions? Math. The first thing is turned it into a fraction, so math, enter, enter. There is the fraction form. So negative 5 halves will be the fraction part of that. So let's find the other one. 1.5, enter. Then math, oh, what happened? Oh, I cleared it. 1.5, enter. Then math, enter, enter that to see that that is 3/2. So there's your vertex. This is how they're going to want you to enter it in Math Lab, but then you'll go back to this when you do your graphing part of it. So once you get your vertex, remember, your axis of symmetry is always x equals whatever the x coordinate is, which would be negative 5 halves. So remember, this parabola is right side up. It's not upside down, which automatically means that it has a minimum value. And the minimum value is whatever that y number is, which will be 3/2. Okay. All right, number 4. Same kind of problem. F of x equals negative x squared minus 4x minus 10. So since this one's x squared does have a negative in front of it, remember this one's going to be upside down. So I'm going to find the vertex first. Okay, I'll just do that in my calculator. So let's go to y equals. Okay, here, I'll pause it for a second and let y'all try this one. Try to find. Okay, so I'm going to go to my y equals and clear it out. Type in negative x squared minus 4x minus 10. So remember, your negative button's below the 3. So negative, there's your x. I'm going to square it, just hit the x squared button. Minus 4x minus 10. So minus 4x minus 10. All right, let's graph it and see what it looks like. So just like we thought, it's going to be an upside down parabola. So here is my vertex. To find it, I'm going to hit the second button and then the calc button. Now, this one, I'm not finding a minimum, right? Its vertex is the top of the parabola now. So this time I need to tell my calculator that I need to find the maximum of this parabola. It's going to ask me the same questions though. Are you on the left side? Which means, okay, so here's where my cursor is right now. It's at 0, -10. That means it's right here. You can actually see it. Okay, which means it's not on the left side, it's on the right side. I need to put it over here on the left. So just hit your left button. You see your cursor moving up, 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 and then it's going to cross over the vertex and go to the left side. So just hit enter. Then hit your right button and move that cursor back over to the right side. It doesn't matter where, anywhere on the right, then hit enter twice. So there's your vertex. It's at -2, -6. That gives us the information that we need to answer the rest of the questions. Okay, the first thing it's going to ask me is what's the axis of symmetry? Which will just be x equals whatever that x coordinate is, so -2. Then it's going to say, does it have a minimum or maximum value? Remember, this one is upside down, which tells us that it has a maximum value. And as always, your maximum value or minimum value is always just whatever that y is. It's saying the very top part of this parabola is -6. Okay? All right, number 5. Is a true-false question. It gives you a function. It says f of x equals 5x squared minus 7x plus 2. And this says this would have a minimum value. As opposed to a maximum value, which just means, is this parabola right side up or is it upside down? Well, the x squared is a positive number, which means your parabola will be right side up, which means, yes, its vertex is at the minimum. So that is a true statement, right? It would be at the bottom. All right, number 6 is another true-false question. And this kind of goes back, not kind of, all the way, goes back to our transformation rules. What moves you left, right, and up and down. So it gives us this function. It says the graph of h of x equals x plus 6 in parentheses squared. And then the statement says, the graph of this can be obtained by translating or moving h of x equals x squared left 6 units. So let's see. Inside here, we've got x plus 6. Remember what inside numbers do. Inside numbers do move you left and right, but you do go opposite of the sign. So this plus 6 would move you to the left 6. So yes, that would move the x squared graph. It would shift it horizontally to the left 6. So yes, that one's also true. All right, number 7 is also another translation kind of question. It says the axis of symmetry of the function. And the function is f of x equals 9 times x minus 6 squared plus 7. It's saying the axis of symmetry of this parabola is x equals 7. So let's think about what these numbers right here are doing to this x squared graph. Okay, the original or the standard x squared graph is just a parabola that starts right there at the origin. It has its vertex right here at the origin. So let's shift this one according to what these numbers are telling me to do. And here's what you're shifting. You're shifting the vertex. That's the point of the parabola that you are moving around according to what these numbers are telling me to do. So let's see. The inside number is -6. So that's going to tell me to move it to the right 6. Now, remember what the outside numbers do. They shift you vertically up and down, and you go with the sign, which means I'm also going to shift up 7. So that's what I'm moving, is this vertex right here. So let's shift it right 6 and up 7. So I'm going to go right 6 and up 7. So starting from here to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that is where the vertex of this parabola has shifted. Still a parabola, it's just been shifted right 6, up 7. So here's what the question is. It says the axis of symmetry of this parabola is at x equals 7. Well, where did we just move the vertex to? If we went right 6, up 7, that's where our vertex is. What is the axis of symmetry when you're looking at the vertex? It's always what? X equals whatever the x coordinate is. So that's what the axis of symmetry should be. X equals 6, not x equals 7. So that's why that one would be false. Okay, number 8. All right, number 8 gives us a function, f of x equals x squared plus 10x plus 16. All right, so it's going to ask us the same kind of problems that's asked us on the other problems and then add some stuff to it. So the first thing I'm going to have to do, the first question will be, what is the vertex? So let's put this in our y equals. So go to y equals, clear it out. Type in x squared plus 10x plus 16. So let's look at what it looks like. So let's graph it. It's just a regular parabola, right? Since it doesn't have a negative in front of the x squared, it's going to be a regular parabola. So let's find its vertex. So second, calc. So since it's a regular, it has a minimum, right? Only upside down parabolas have maximums. So this one's a regular, so let's just go and find its minimum. So is the cursor on the left side? Well, my cursor right now is at 0, 16. So my cursor is right up here, and I can't tell my left from right when I'm backwards. So it is on the right side, right? Because it's somewhere up here, because it's at 0, 16. So I need to push my left button until my cursor moves across and comes anywhere over here to the left side. So again, just pushing my left button, and you'll see it. There it comes. Okay, there it is on the left. So hit enter. And then move it to the right. Until you see it over there on the right. There it is. Anywhere, it doesn't matter. Hit enter twice. So here's your vertex. So look at this. I'm glad this came up. This negative 4.99999999. What does that really mean? It really just means negative 5. Right? So your vertex is at negative 5, negative 9. Okay, the next thing it's going to say is, does it have a minimum or a maximum value? And find the value. So I'm actually going to draw this one out. Let's sketch it. So here's where the vertex is. Negative 5, negative 9, which would be to the left 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then down 9. So here's my vertex. Here's my parabola. So it does have a minimum, right? Since it's a right side up parabola. So it's going to have a minimum value. And where does the minimum value come from? This y number, so negative 9 is the minimum value. Okay, this one didn't ask me for the axis of symmetry. Now it's going to ask me, the next question is going to say, what is the range? Now remember, the range of a function is, what are the y values of this function? What all is the y going to be? Well, here's the thing. Here's what the minimum tells you. Here's what this number tells you. That's the minimum that your y's are going to be. That's the very lowest number that your y will be in this function, right? It comes down to this negative 9, but then what does it do? It starts going back up. So 9 is the very lowest number that your y's are going to be, but then on either side of this, it goes up forever, right? Your y's, that function goes up forever. That's what those arrows mean. So your range, the very smallest number, it wants you to enter this in interval notation. Remember, interval notation is the one that has the opening and closing. A lot of times you see infinities, things like that. Well, let's see. What do I want to say in interval notation? I want to say from negative 9 up forever. So I'm going to go negative 9 to infinity. Now, here's the good thing. Remember, infinities always have parentheses around them, always. Now, I need to decide in the range whether or not this negative 9 needs a parenthesis or a bracket. So, in other words, does it include the negative 9? Does this parabola come down and physically touch that negative 9? Yeah, that's its vertex. It comes down to that point, and then it goes the other way. So I want to put a bracket around that negative 9. So the range is from negative 9 to infinity. All right,
the last two questions are saying, where is this function increasing and decreasing? So just looking at it, here on this side, the y's are going down. So this is your decreasing side. Once they get down to here, what are they going to start doing? They're going to start increasing. So this is your increasing side. So I want to say that in interval notation. Now, when you're talking about increasing and decreasing, so let's do our decrease first. When you're talking about increasing and decreasing, you're using the x. You're going to say, my values are coming down, but they're coming down until they get to that x right there. So you're decreasing, whoops. From the x values, this right here is the start of the decrease, and it decreases till you get to this point. So you're decreasing until you get to -5. So you're decreasing starting all the way from the left. So from -infinity until -5. Then once you get to, and I'll talk about why we use parentheses here in a minute. Once you get to the vertex, you start increasing. So where do you start increasing? You start increasing at -5. And then you increase forever to infinity. So why am I using parentheses around that -5 instead of a bracket? Because at this point right here, you're not increasing or decreasing, right? That's the point where you stop doing both of them and start doing the other one. So that's why you don't want to include. I'm not increasing at -5. I'm not doing either one, right? I've stopped. Okay, so that's why these have parentheses around them. All right, two more. This next one is just like that one. And next week, we're going to do a lot more. This increasing and decreasing stuff is brand new concept. We're going to do a lot more of it next week to help us understand it better. All right, number 9, f of x equals -8x squared minus 24x plus 9. So the first thing it's always going to ask us is what's the vertex? Because again, that gives us a lot of information. So let's put this in our calculator. And our y equals so go to y equals and clear it. -8x squared minus 24x plus 9. So this one's going to be upside down, right? Because it's got that negative in front of it. I can't even see the vertex. Right? Did you see what happened when this was drawing? It went up here. So the vertex is somewhere up here, and then it turned around and came down. So let's find the vertex. So second calc. So on this one, since it's upside down, it's going to have a top, right? Which means I need to go and find the maximum value. And it wants to know, is it on the left side or right side? So remember, here, this tells you where your cursor is. It's at 0, -9. So let's see, that means, oh wait, no, not -9, 0, 9. So it's somewhere up here. So let's see, would that put it on the left side or the right side? So since it's over here, it's on the right. So I need to see to hit my left. Until I start seeing it. So there's my cursor. So I'm going to hit enter. Now, it wants to know if it's on the right. So here's how you can tell whether or not it's passed through the vertex and gotten to the other side. When I'm hitting my right, it's moving this cursor all the way up until it reaches the vertex, and then it's going to come back down. So what's going to happen to this y? Watch your y value. See how it's going up? So now it's at 9.5, 14.17, 18, 21, 23, 25, 26. But now look at it. Now it's coming down. That means it has gone all the way up to the top, passed through it, and now it's starting to come down. So you should see it here soon since it's coming down. So there it is. Hit enter again, twice. So here's my vertex, negative 1.5, 27. Now, remember, Math Lab's not going to like this, so you're going to have to math enter that to enter it as negative 3/2, 27. Okay, so I'm just going to sketch this one out. So my vertex will be to the left 3/2, or to the left 1.5, and up 27. So I'm just going to, and it's upside down, right? So we're just going to pretend like this is negative 1.5, 27. So the first thing it wants to know is the vertex. Then it's going to say the parabola opens upward or downward. Well, it opens downward and has a maximum value of 27. Now it's going to want to know the range. So this time the range is different because this is what? Talking about the range, you're talking about your y value. This is the very highest y value you're going to have. That's why it's called the maximum, because it's the very highest y value. Okay? So since the top is 27, what are the rest of these going down? Those are going down, right? All the numbers below 27 are included in the range. So how am I going to write that? 27 is my very highest value. And you put a bracket around it because it does touch the 27. Which means, where are these going down to? They're going down to negative infinity. Infinities always have parentheses. So let's see, this one, it's increased. This is the increased side, right? Here's where it's going up. Then it passes through the vertex and it starts going down. So this is your decreased side. So let's see, it's going up from negative infinity until it gets to this x. So from negative infinity to, what's the x? Negative 3/2. Once it hits that point, it starts going down. So it starts decreasing at negative 3/2, and it decreases forever to infinity. Okay, last one, and I know I'm going a little over, and this one doesn't take as long. Okay, this one is a word problem, but it actually doesn't take as long. It says a toy rocket is shot vertically into the air from a launching pad 3 feet above the ground with an initial velocity of 40 feet per second. The height in feet of the rocket above the ground at t seconds after launch is given by the function. Here's what we need, this information. Negative 16t squared plus 40t plus 3. So there is the function. Think about it. When you shoot off a rocket, what happens? It blasts off, it gets to a point up here, and then it'll eventually start coming back down. So it's going to go in the shape of a parabola. So let's put this function here and find the vertex. The vertex is going to give us both answers to this question. So go to your y equals, we don't have t's, so just put in x's. So 16x squared plus 40x plus 3. And let's graph it. It's going to be a parabola that I'm probably not going to be able to see the top of. Oh, what did I forget? What made it go upside down that I didn't put in there? That negative. Where am I on? Negative 16x squared plus 40x plus 3. Okay, so now you'll see it started here, went way up here, at some point up here, it started coming down. So let's find the vertex. So second calc, it's a maximum since it's upside down. So is it on the left? It is on the left, right? Because it's somewhere up here. It's at 0, 15, so it's right here. So it is on the left. So go ahead and hit enter. And then hit your right button. And watch your y values. See how they're going to keep going up until it gets to the vertex, and then they're going to start going down. So I'm still going up. 111, 111. Okay, now I'm going down. So I can keep going until I see it, but I can go ahead and hit enter because I know that I've crossed through the vertex and I'm on the right. So hit enter twice. Here's your vertex. 2.5, 115. So here's the two questions. It wants to know the rocket reaches its maximum height at blank seconds. And the maximum height reached by the object is how many feet? So that's how long it took it to get there, and here's its maximum height. So it took it 2.5 seconds to go the maximum height of 115 feet. Okay, so I know I went over, I did already take roll, I got everybody that was here. So what 7.5 will be due this Sunday. Okay, and I know we did a lot this week, so if anybody needs a little extension,